book begins with a lady who's been chased, and she is injured, and she knows she's gonna die, but she's taken solace in the fact that the person who's chasing her is not going to get the information that she's carrying. So ultimately, she ran out into traffic and to be able to save herself, and to keep this guy from getting this information. So after she got hit in the street, she ended up dying. And so we find out later on that this lady, her name was Elena Myers. So in finding out, who this person is and all that, we find out that she is a paralegal who was working for some big law firm in the Northeast. And a part of the investigation, they found out that they were working on a case in San Diego. So she was in San Diego for a while. And it was, they were working on a lawsuit between two companies. And so that lawsuit ended up getting settled. So she has this video that she was hell-bent on getting to Kendra Michaels. Now, this video that she was carrying is supposed to reveal some information to her. But when we find out what the video is, everybody's perplexed. So the authorities got the video, they watched it, and then they contacted Kendra Michaels because that was, intended for her. And she watched it and she was like flummoxed. So this video is a video of a wedding. And she doesn't know who these people are in the video. And this lady, she doesn't know this lady Elena, and Elena is not in the video either. So she's like, what in the world is going on? Now, Elena is a music therapy teacher. She has some advanced degree, and she used to be blind, but somehow she recovered her sight. And she consults, the impression that I'm getting is that she consults with the FBI, and she's worked with them before. So at some point, Elena must have become aware of her and figured if anybody could, put two and two together, it would probably be her. So based on the video and all that, they figured out where it was, where the wedding reception was. They went there and asked questions. And so they came upon who the wedding was for. And they talked to the bride's father, who they were able to use to identify, like, hey, do you guys know this guy? So the father of the bride was John Hollingsworth, and he was a founding member of the country club. The wedding reception was for his daughter, Elizabeth. So when they called him, when they went to talk to him, he wouldn't give his daughter's number, but he said that he would get in touch with her and have her contact them. Now, when he calls and tries to get in hold of her, no answer. So he was like, okay, well, maybe she's busy. Later on, her business, I thought she was an attorney, something. But later on, we find out that she had a meeting in the morning that she didn't show up for. So now everybody's worried. So in hearing this, Kendra ended up going to her place that she lived. Kendra is working with Adam Lynch. Adam is a former military, and he has a lot of experience in covert operations. He did a lot of jobs in Afghanistan, and he's kind of like the go-to guy for, I guess, the FBI when there's certain type of missions that they need somebody for. So Kendra and him are working together. But when they go to Elizabeth's apartment, it's all ransacked, and she's nowhere to be found. I think her keys were still there, and so they figured like she was kidnapped. So now they really have to figure out like what's really going on, what's the connection, how can they find her. So we also find out that Kendra has a friend. Her name is Jessie Mercado, and she is one that she had worked before. She's a private investigator, but she was also an ex-military, and she had missions in Afghanistan as well. Now, there's a connection with, she's the one who discovered a connection with Brock Limited. I think that's the name of the company. It's one of those civilian companies that does security and assignments, contracts for the military. So they're a huge security firm, and they were in Afghanistan working with the military when Jessie was in Afghanistan, and she does not like them one bit because she feels like they had endangered colleagues of hers that caused them to die. And so she has a sour taste in her mouth for them, and they're ruthless, and they just do take on unnecessary, brutality in the missions than they require. And so she doesn't like them either. So, she's willing to, help them figure out what's going on. Now, Lynch has a connection to this guy, Josh, who's a part of Brock Limited. He's some AVP, and he was wanting Adam to join Brock Limited. And so he says, whenever you want to come check out our operation, then come on over, whatever. He was hell-bent on trying to recruit him. But anyway, so now that he discovers the connection with Brock Limited, he decides he's going to go pay, he's going to call in that card and go see what's going on. So when he goes there, they're doing some scenario training where, they have it built out where it's like a town. And so they do like trainings, and there's different, different people and different scenarios, and they have to find the enemy and shoot and go through different scenarios. So one of those type of things were going on. And so he was like encouraging Brock to run through the scenario, and he wants to know his time or whatever. So when he gave Adam the gun that he was supposed to be using, there was something messed up with it. And so he caught that because, of course, he's a pro. And he was like, something's not right. Why is this guy setting me up to do this thing, knowing that there's something wrong with this gun? But he, of course, played it like he didn't know what's going on. So Adam was going to walk away. So he decides to, all right, fine. And he goes through the scenario. Of course, he passed with flying colors. The guy was really, really impressed. So anyway, they left. And they were back from that place. They had some issues with their car, and they had to bail out the vehicle. So now he really knows that something's up with Brock Limited, and there's something going on that they don't want them to get to. So after that happens, we find out that there was another kidnapping, and this time it was somebody from the wedding. So we know that there's somebody who's like taking out specific people in the wedding party. Not only that, but when this person was taken, Barbara, she was a friend of the bride's, or I think it was the bridesmaid, maid of honor. When she was taken, Elizabeth's body was left in her vehicle. So this starts to be a pattern for whoever this bad guy is, that he would take someone and then he would leave the body of the prior person. And so Barbara is missing. So now they have to, do whatever they can to figure out where she is. They also found a trail with this guy, former Brock Limited guy named Adam Facey, and he was missing. They were turning up everywhere looking for him, leaving their cars. So, Lynch and Kendra felt like there had to be something why they're looking for this guy, and they wanted to make sure they get to him and see what he knows before Brock Limited gets a hold of him. So Lynch ended up going out to Oregon to pick up the trail of this guy. And so when Adam left to go to Oregon, Kendra was really worried about him. We see that there seems to be some kind of something going on between the two of them, because she was really worried, and it seems like Adam seems to like her, but they haven't really made that step. So there's a huge gunfight and all kinds of stuff happening out there. But anyway, Adam ended up making it back. So then they decide, like, okay, something serious is going on. After this whole thing happened, while Adam was in Oregon, his boss, Metcalf, had called Kendra to deliver some news, some grave news. And so she was really down. And I guess at this point, she realized that she really cared about Adam. So after that whole encounter went down, they decided, like, they really need to stop Brock Limited because there's something going on here. So after that happened, they come up with a plan, and they were going to get some, I guess, more information on Brock Limited. And so they ended up going to their headquarters. They had the necessary paperwork to go search the place. And what do you know, because this is a huge company and they have connections within the government, they ended up, because they had brought in Vivian Kirstein, who was the CEO or something like that. And so she ended up getting out of there. Their little thing that they did kind of went nowhere. So they have to take some other other ways of getting to Brock Limited. So after this all happens, we find out that Kendra's friend went missing. I think her name was Olivia. So Olivia lives in the same building as her. And remember I said that Kendra was previously blind, but Olivia is still blind. They met at some point when she was blind, but they live in the same building. Coincidentally, Olivia was the one who figured out a thread in the wedding video, because you know how when people have a disability, or one of their senses are not functioning, the other ones are heightened. So she heard something in the video that Kendra had missed, and this kind of got the whole thing started. So this was a way for the person to kind of get to Kendra, because she was messing up stuff for them. And so they ended up leaving the body of Barbara in Olivia's apartment. And so now Kendra is really, really worried. And so because it's somebody who's near and dear to her, you know, she's really thinking, I guess, emotionally at this point. So she ended up following one of the guys from Brock Limited, which led her to a compound where she felt like Barbara might have been held there, and she has to do something to, not Barbara, Olivia was held there, and she had to do something to save her friend. So at the end of the book, there's a huge showdown between Brock Limited and, Kendra and Lynch, and, you know, they're the FBI basically. So we find out that at the end of the book that this, you know, I think this is a series. So they're going to be headed to Afghanistan. Adam was going to be headed to Afghanistan. And so Jessie wanted in on the operation. So she kind of told Kendra, and then now Kendra wants to go. So I think the next book is going to take place in Afghanistan, whatever they're going over there to do. So anyway, I did like the action in this book. But towards the end of the book, I was feeling a little disappointed. And I've been thinking since I finished the book, like, what was I disappointed about? And I think my disappointment was who the bad guy was. I felt like before the book ended, I kind of figured out who the bad guy was. We do find that out at the end of the book, but there were little things that happened and you were like, oh, I wonder if it was this person. And it turned out the person that I was thinking it was, that's who it was. So for that, I'm giving this book a 3.8. So if you have read or listened to this book, let me know your thoughts. Until next